There is a point in relationships with narcissistic people that shakes you in a way nothing else does. It is not the beginning, because that part feels almost magical. It is not even the middle, when things start to wobble, but you are still trying. It is the ending, the way it shifts quietly, suddenly, and leaves you standing there trying to make sense of something that no longer adds up. Because with them, an ending is not a single moment. It is something that has been forming underneath long before you ever see the cracks. They do not move through relationships in a steady or grounded way. Their connection swings between extremes. One day you are cherished, needed, held close. Then something inside them flips, and you can feel yourself being pushed to the edges without explanation. It does not always come from a place of calculation, but it is a pattern, one they repeat without real awareness of how deeply it affects the people around them. They are not responding to who you are. They are responding to what you make them feel about themselves. And when that feeling shifts, when you no longer reinforce the version of themselves they are trying to hold together, the relationship begins to change in ways you cannot quite name yet. That is where the confusion begins, because while you were building something real and steady, they were never anchored in the same way. Their sense of closeness depends on how they feel in the moment, not on the history you have built together. So when that feeling drops, when admiration fades or tension rises, they do not repair the connection. They retreat from it. And when you look back, the signs were there. The subtle need for attention, the comparisons, the small moments that made you question your footing. Not dramatic, not always obvious, just enough to keep you slightly off balance. Not because they are plotting, but because they rely on that attention to hold themselves together. So when the relationship ends, it rarely ends cleanly. Sometimes it ends through conflict. Everything becomes a fight. Small things turn into big things. Tension builds until it snaps. It is not only about creating a reason to leave. It is also because the way they see you has shifted. The irritation and the criticism reflect that internal change. Instead of facing it, they project it outward. Suddenly you become the problem, the reason they are unhappy, the cause of the distance. Even their own behavior gets placed at your feet, not because they are scheming, but because they cannot sit with the idea that something inside them has changed. Sometimes it ends through disappearance. No conversation, no closure, just distance, silence, a slow fade that leaves you stunned. What looks like indifference is often avoidance. They cannot face what the relationship has become, so they step out of it entirely. And while you are trying to understand what happened, they may already be attaching themselves somewhere else. Not because it is deeper, but because it gives them a new feeling to hold on to. And sometimes they make you end it. They do not leave. They simply become so distant, inconsistent, or emotionally unreachable that staying becomes painful. They drop hints, stir doubt, bring up things that unsettle you. Never directly, never clearly, until you are the one who finally says, "I cannot do this anymore." And when you do, they do not fight it, because in their mind, the ending already happened long before the words were spoken. And this is what lingers. Not just the ending itself, but the way it leaves you questioning everything. Yourself, your worth, your intuition. But the truth is simple, even if it is painful. You were not in a stable, mutual connection that suddenly collapsed. You were in a relationship with someone who struggles to hold a steady sense of self. And because of that, they cannot hold a steady sense of you. So the ending does not come with clarity. It comes with confusion. And the more you try to understand it through logic, fairness, or emotional honesty, the more lost it feels. But eventually, you stop chasing explanations that were never going to come. You stop turning it inward. And you realize that what felt personal was rooted in something that was never yours to fix. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I will see you in the next one.